I've seen salespeople do a great job selling against a low price competition and say, hey, we can give you better quality people. That's why you should pay us more. And the clients will agree to it. But then really the fulfillment is about the same, and the client can't distinguish between the two agencies. And now it's like, okay, I've got these two agencies. They're kind of sending me similar people. I'm getting similar results, but I'm now I've agreed to pay more to the one. Which agency do you think is the first one that's cut? Yeah, the higher price one, because they didn't deliver on their expectations, on their promises, and they didn't deliver in a way that differentiates themselves as a better partner to earn those higher prices. The key thing that you need to pay attention to in that story is that clients will pay more to have their staffing problems solved. They've just heard the song and dance one too many times, and they've been let down one too many times, that they're not buying it anymore. They're being more reluctant. They're not as willing to partner with a staffing agency. And frankly, the price game has got about as low as it can go to be sustainable. So they're not getting any more, I guess, leverage, or they're not getting any more value from driving the prices down, right? So let's talk about the other side, these four core areas of recruiting that if you have these things, and I'm going to tell you what they are, and I'll give you a summary overview. I can't go deep into the mechanics of them all, but I'm going to teach you what they are. And then I'm going to circle back to how you would position these things if you were focused on them to a prospective client, to show that you can provide value in a way that most of your competition is not even touching on when they talk to your clients and prospective clients. So hey everybody, it's Dan Mori with Staffing Monthly, the industry's only digital magazine that focuses on actionable insights for recruiting, marketing, sales, and leadership. And I hope your year is off to a great start. Today, I really wanted to share about a topic that has been forefront in agencies in our industry. And we right now are facing some turbulent times. We've kind of come off 2, maybe 3 years that have been a little bit rough, a little bit turbulent. And most of us have not had banner years when it comes to sales and growing revenue. And the opportunities are getting fewer and far between. They seem like a little bit harder to go capture. And on top of that, we're still dealing with some of the pandemic and post-pandemic recruiting challenges that have led to higher turnover and retention worsening, and sometimes that leads to poor service and lower fill percentages and kind of negative recruiting performance. And I really wanted to talk about this because there's something here that most agencies are getting wrong. Okay. I think that there's four core areas when it comes to recruiting that need to be managed. You really need to have a intentional plan for these four areas, because these four areas ultimately make up your unique value proposition. And if you have a really strong unique value proposition, or UVP, it makes sales a whole lot easier, right? And before I jump into these four key areas, I want to talk about the challenge on the sales side that solving the UVP thing on the recruiting side will help alleviate that, right? So this is what's going on. For years, we've been facing a commodity crisis. And for the most part, staffing agencies have not done nearly enough to differentiate themselves from the competition, right? If you were to cover up the logos and maybe change the colors on websites, it might be hard to tell the difference between two agencies. If you actually had sales reps walk in and you didn't know which agencies they were from and they couldn't say the agency name, they probably would sound too similar to know the difference, right? And the one main issue that this causes is ambiguity or confusion with the prospect, and confused clients do nothing. And if all the options seem the same, it creates price is the only differentiator that's left for the client to choose from. So that's why they start, pitting these similar sounding agencies against each other, and they are forced to compete on price if they want to take the business, right? And this creates this commodity game. Well, what's happened through that time as well is a lot of staffing agencies have made big promises. They said, we can do this and we can solve this problem. We can help improve your retention and we can give you better quality employees. And you know, everything under the sun to get the customer to do business with them, right? And we believe out there, these salespeople, they believe that they're solving the problem, right? They go in, they talk to a client, like, what are your biggest challenges? Oh, we're having a hard time finding talented people. I've got a whole database of talented people. I can fill these roles for you. Or we're having a hard time with turnover or retention. We get good people in, but they leave. We can backfill that pretty quickly, or we can give you people that are going to stay. They start to be very quick with promising the solution to the problem that the client is facing or the employer is facing. And unfortunately, it's not the best way to really sell, okay? Because it's disconnected from what you most likely can actually do with your recruiting team. And when you get that disconnect, what happens is you promise one thing, you establish an expectation, but then the reality is different, right? I've seen salespeople do a great job selling against a low price competition and say, hey, we can give you better quality people. That's why you should pay us more. And the clients will agree to it. But then really the fulfillment is about the same, and the client can't distinguish between the two agencies. And now it's like, okay, I've got these two agencies. They're kind of sending me similar people. I'm getting similar results, but I've agreed to pay more to the one. Which agency do you think is the first one that's cut? Yeah, the higher price one, because they didn't deliver on their expectations, on their promises, and they didn't deliver in a way that differentiates themselves as a better partner to earn those higher prices. The key thing that you need to pay attention to in that story is that clients will pay more to have their staffing problems solved. They've just heard the song and dance one too many times, and they've been let down one too many times, that they're not buying it anymore. They're being more reluctant. They're not as willing to partner with a staffing agency. And frankly, the price game has got about as low as it can go to be sustainable. So they're not getting any more, I guess, leverage, or they're not getting any more value from driving the prices down, right? So let's talk about the other side, these four core areas of recruiting that, if you have these things, and I'm going to tell you what they are, and I'll give you a summary overview. I can't go deep into the mechanics of them all, but I'm going to teach you what they are. And then I'm going to circle back to how you would position these things if you were focused on them to a prospective client, to show that you can provide value in a way that most of your competition is not even touching on when they talk to your clients and prospective clients. So here's the four key areas. The first one, this is the low-hanging fruit, job board strategy. We all know in recruiting, especially in production recruiting, if you're trying to get a lot of people into your database, there is no larger group of people or no larger stream of candidates than job boards, right? So they are a very, very important, essential part of your recruiting plan, and they need to be. However, there is a major con that I'm going to tell you that you need to be aware of. And this con is big enough that you should focus on the other three things as well, with intentionality and a level of being deliberate with the outcome, to really, as you do on your job boards, right? So here's the big con. This is the most active talent base out there, right? Job boards are filled with people that are actively looking to change jobs, right? That right there will fuel attrition, because once they apply to your job, they've likely applied to 50 other jobs on the platform. And once they get through your process, they've probably already received offers from a handful of other companies. And just because you place them on an assignment doesn't mean that their phone is going to stop ringing. They're going to stop getting texts or emails about positions they applied to. And it certainly doesn't mean that their resume leaves the job board. So other people can still see them. Other staffing agencies that are starved for talent and promising quick turnaround for talent can still access that same candidate, right? So this is the most active candidate. Again, it's quick. These people can actually move quick. They've already self-identified as someone that's actually looking for a new opportunity. They'll move to it. They need a low level of convincing, so you can move this person fast. But just understand that the downside is they can also move off your assignment fast somewhere else too. So you have to have it as part of the process. It's great for backfilling databases and actually kind of filling up your bench and getting to know people and letting them kind of go passive a little bit into the job search, and then maybe get to them the next time that they're thinking about leaving their job, right before they put their resume back on the job board, right? If they start applying to jobs again. So that's a great piece with the job board side of it. A couple of other things if you're going to actually up your performance with job boards that you really need to be thinking about so you don't spend too much money. I would encourage you to, if you're doing a lot of job ad posting, consider programmatic. Programmatic is a good option for people that want to be budget conscious, but also need to get a lot of candidates in the door. If you're not familiar with what programmatic is, there's a number of companies out there that can do this for you. There's companies that can manage it for you, like Haley Marketing. Glide has an element of programmatic in their service offering. But what this is it allows you to set targets, either spend or quantity of candidate to your job ad. And then when those targets are hit, it will automatically turn your job ad off. You get the candidates you need. You typically stop spending, so you don't overspend. So it's a good way to sort of be budget conscious and get the candidates you need. It works really, really well if your metrics are dialed in and you know how many candidates you need to be bringing in to fill job orders, right? Works really, really well there. So, but next piece, if you're managing it yourself or even using programmatic and you're still doing the job copy yourself, you have to be thinking like a marketer when it comes to your job ad title, right? Think about the world we live in when people are actually scrolling, looking at headlines on Twitter X, right? Or on LinkedIn or Facebook. A lot of times people are just looking at the headline of a post, deciding, do I want to spend the next 3, 5, 10, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever, reading this job, right? So the headline matters. This is the same thing as like email open rates. Marketers had to get really clever with the subject line to get people to open the email to see what was in there, right? And if you think about marketing, marketing is just simply trying to find the right audience, serve them the right message to get them to take the action that you want them to take. Recruiting is no different on job boards. You want to find the right audience, serve them the right message that gets them to take the action that you want them to take, which is applying for your job. Also, you want to have the messaging that's also going to filter out people that you might not want applying to your job that maybe aren't qualified for the position, because if someone that's unqualified applies to the position, you still have to pay for it. So be focusing on the job title, right? Think like a marketer. Make sure that your headline is engaging. It's going to basically draw people's attention and make them click on your ad, right? Because if they don't click on your ad, they can't apply to it. So the next piece, you have to have really good copy. Again, I can't get into the entire framework of how you should write your job ad. That's a whole other workshop. But you really need to be thinking about what is the way that I need to write my job ad copy that's going to draw the candidate in or the applicant in, and going to have a call to action that gets them to apply, right? You need to be thinking about that. So those are some areas that I would really look to optimize if you're going to be being intentional and deliberate about your job board strategy. One of the 4 pillars here, right? The second one, referrals, right? This is the first kind of almost easiest way into passive talent. And when you're thinking about what everybody wants, what your clients really want is they want access to passive talent pools. When they think about partnering with a recruiting agency that touts a big database of talent, they're thinking, wow, this is somebody that has the elusive passive talent that I covet, that I desire, that I want to work with, that I want to find to fill my open roles. That's why they work with you. But unfortunately, we typically have filled our database up, or we over rely on the active talent from job boards, which is easily accessible for our clients as well. So it's nothing that's really unique to us or valuable to the client beyond what they can do themselves. So enter referrals. If you do not have the structure of a referral program in your agency right now, you're missing out. You're missing out. You should have at the very like table stakes, the very bare minimum, you should have a referral program, right? Even if it's manual, even if it's something that you have to track manually, or even use some software that, maybe like Bullhorn Automation or, Pixel with Aviante or some of the other tools out there, just to do some basic help automation with it. That's fine, but you should have a referral program where you're tapping into your database, your talent pool, and asking them, who do they know, right? The data is conclusive. There is no doubt about this. Referred candidates last longer on assignment. They typically fill jobs quicker, which is kind of a crazy misconception. You wouldn't think that, but they typically fill quicker. And the main reason because this is because there's an emotional kind of relationship. They're connected to the person that's referring them to your agency or to your job, right? They're emotionally vested in the process more so than maybe a job board applicant that's already applied to, 10 other agencies, right? So there's that power in that kind of known relationship of being referred to somebody. And this all leads to better fills, better performance, better candidates, but it's harder and there's less of them, right? You do have to put some work into this to actually fill this stream of candidates up to where you actually have a good pool of passive talent in your database here. So with this, some kind of key things that you can be focusing on. One, first and foremost, this is the absolute essential piece. You got to be referable, right? You have to think about the things that you would gladly refer in your own life. Like, what is a restaurant that you would recommend to a family member or a friend, right? What is a movie that you would recommend? What is a, clothing line or an automaker or an airline, whatever it might be? Like, what is something that you would gladly recommend to somebody? And think about why that is. It's usually because you've had a really positive experience with them. Maybe their price point offers tremendous value for you. Maybe they got great quality. Maybe their customer service is on point. Maybe they offer something unique that you can't get anywhere else that you really enjoy, right? Those are typically the tenets of being referable. And when you're referable, people will refer you not being incentivized by a referral fee, right? Most referrals in this world actually happen without being incentivized for the referral fee. It's because people enjoyed something and they want to pass that along with people they know, like, and trust, right? So the very first thing, be referable. The best ways to do this is to create a very positive, enjoyable experience working with your agency. Now, I know that if you're recruiting and you're having to deal with thousands and thousands of candidates every single month, it's hard to build those one-to-one relationships. Enlist in tools out there that will help do some of that lifting to give people a positive experience. It's not a high bar. Think about this. Most job seekers are frustrated that they never hear back from a job ad application, right? So simply put there, if you just respond back with a message that seems a little bit more human, than a templated type deal, and you're just like, hey, we got your application. I really appreciate you applying. We're going to review your resume and your experience, and we'll be in touch shortly, right? Something like that goes a long way. That's the start of a very good experience. If you do not have a fit for somebody, let them know, right? These are people out there that they're making a life-changing decision looking for a job, and that's a stressful time for people, right? Let them know. Have a message, say, hey, you know what? This position got filled, or, you're not quite the right fit for this position based on these things that we see here. However, we would like to consider you for these other positions in the future, whatever it might be. Start building that relationship and get them to have a positive experience with you. You can get referrals from people that you've never placed if you give them a positive experience, right? And I'll tell you right now, it's a pretty low bar. There is actually great technology to do this. Also, make sure your application process is easy. It's, in today's day and age, they tell you that an application that takes longer than 4 minutes, you start to lose people. You lose 50% of your applicants for every minute longer than 4 minutes, right? So like that's the benchmark. There's tools, but be focusing on being referable. Then create opportunities for your people that like working with you, that feel that you're referable. Create opportunities for them to refer, right? Meaning tell people about your referral program. Like that's the minimum. Like, hey, do you know anybody else that might be interested in a job? Right? Would you introduce me to them? Right? If you just get used to asking these questions all the time, put it in your email signature, put it easily on your website, have a pop out, a flyer, whatever it might be, post it in your agency if you're still brick and mortar bringing people in, but make sure have it on your social media. Make it easy for people to give referrals, right? Incentivize it. Right now, the most effective referral is a dual-sided incentive. So it's like the person doing the referral gets something and the person being referred gets something, right? Figure out the economics of what makes the most sense for you and your agency and figure out how to do a dual-sided piece. Kind of the holy grail of this, if you're going to take this to the next level and you're going to take it seriously and have referrals be a key stream of your recruiting, kind of the core pillars here, which will become a UVP, builder right here. I'll tell you about that in a second, is using an automated software, right? Obviously, the gold standard in the industry is staffing referrals. They are the ones that can take your program, automate the good best practices of it, create a huge ambassador following and automate a lot of this so you can push your jobs out to your kind of so-called ambassadors and give them easy links to share with their people, right? The recent case study that I saw that blew me away was WSI. They really took a very intentional approach to building their referral program because they were dissatisfied with the talent that they were getting exclusively from job boards, and they knew they needed to do something differently. So they actually went all in. They worked with the leadership team at Staffing Referrals, and they said, hey, how do we build this? They customized their referral program. They automated it. They were one of the few companies that grew by nearly double digits last year, right? And they're a big company. It's still hard to grow by that amount. So this is one of those streams, right? And I'm not saying this is a commercial for Staffing Referrals. I'm just letting you know they are the gold standard for, automated management of referral programs. So there's a reason why they're the market leader in that space, because it works and companies trust them to do that. But if you don't have a referral program driving talent into your database, you're missing the mark. This is the first and easiest foray into passive talent. And remember, passive talent is desirable by your clients and prospective clients, right? The next piece, this is really going into traditional recruiting. Okay, this is not modern. I'm sure there are pieces of technology that can help automate this or make this, a little bit more scalable. But talent mapping, I'm a big proponent. I've done a couple of workshops recently on this concept. I'm going to give you a high overview. If you've got other questions about it, you can leave me a comment here or reach out to me directly. But talent mapping, this is how it works. First and foremost, you need to pick the top 3 industries that you're really good, you're most successful at servicing, and then pick the top 3 jobs within each one of those industries that you are the absolute best at filling, right? So you got 9 jobs, 3 industries, 3 jobs per, 9 jobs. And I'm talking about 9 roles. Like it's a fork truck operator, it is a registered nurse, it is a software developer, maybe even down to a specific language, right? Like it's a job, right? You got 9 of these things that you're really, really good at, the absolute best at. Then you're going to create these talent maps, right? You're going to take these roles and then you're going to look like, what are the top 3 to 5 industries that I might find somebody that's doing this job or possesses these skills, right? And then under each one of those 3 to 5 industries, you're going to say, what are the top 3 most likely job titles for this role? So now you're actually getting a whole array of job titles in there. And then you're going to start doing research. You're going to say, hey, what are the companies, the employers that host these jobs, that hire these people or employ these job positions? And then you start actually looking at those companies online. You look at the LinkedIn, you look at job boards, you search, and you start filling out this huge matrix. So you want to find out all of the people that hold those jobs, within those companies. And you get 3 to 5 candidates in each one, and you could literally have 120 person plus deep database of passive talent that you've identified. And then you start reaching out to them, doing old school recruiting techniques, maybe a phone call, an email, hitting them up on LinkedIn, text message, whatever it might be. Reach out to them, see if they're interested in moving now, moving jobs now, or if they would be in the future, if you can keep them on file and start to build that relationship with them, right? The data going into this year said 63% of workers are planning to change jobs in 2025, right? That 2/3, 2/3 of all employees are planning to change jobs this year, right? So if you're talent mapping, you can take advantage of that shift. And if you have a talent network like that, that's unique to you and it's valuable to your client, right? The 4th pillar, and this is the most technical. However, again, there is software out there to manage this. There are partners that can help you do this, but it really is website traffic. This is an area that e-commerce has been crushing forever, that the staffing industry should really be taking advantage of and actually bringing into their agencies. This is basically understanding that people are going to your website and 80+% of those people are doing nothing. They're not applying to the jobs that you have. They might not even be finding the jobs that you have. Maybe it's a client. They're not reaching out with your contact form. They're not calling you. Whatever it is, they got to your website for some reason, some level of marketing or something. They went to your website and they did nothing. And then they left. This happens all the time on the internet, usually when shopping. That's usually the big one. Is like you go look at something and then all of a sudden you start seeing ads for it everywhere. This starts to bring you back to it, right? What's going on is they tracked you. right? They used a cookie, they used a pixel, they used some level of tracking, and they basically see you. And then when you leave, they start sending you ads. And those ads are geared towards kind of basically what you interacted with on that site. And the idea is they know that people are so busy that we need to be reminded to take action constantly, right? Constantly reminded to take the action that we want them to take. So if somebody goes to your website and they look at your jobs and they don't do anything and they leave, which again, that's 80+% of people that go to your website, they don't do anything, right? The first time. What you might want to do is say, hey, they came to our job site. This is most likely a job seeker. We want to send them ads about jobs. Maybe not specific jobs, maybe depending on your agency and how niche you are, but you might just want to say, hey, are you one of the 63% of Americans that are looking to change jobs this year, but you don't want to put your resume on a job board, right? Give me a call, shoot me an email, check out this job, right? You can start to actually see that if you get people to come back to your website, the rate that second time visitors take action on your website is astronomical. It is exponentially higher than first time visitors. Okay. So there is a secret sauce. There is magic to getting people to come back. And the way that you do that is through retargeting, right? I'm not a marketing expert. There are people out there that can help you do this. Okay. You can go to, again, companies like Haley Marketing. They actually specialize in this type of CRO and retargeting. But ClearEdge, another great marketing and company in the staffing industry. Go talk to these people and find out how can you actually start to drive this traffic back to your website, and then how can you retarget the ones that don't take action, right, to get them back into your funnel. So just to recap this, what we're talking about, first and foremost, we need to build the UVP, the unique value proposition, something that is unique to your agency, that's valuable to the client, that they'll pay you for, maybe even pay you more than your competition, right? Those four things are your job boards, active talent, right? Your referral program, passive talent, your talent mapping strategy that I gave you a run through on, passive talent, and converting people that are landing on your job site more than your competition, passive talent, right? That's a hybrid between active and passive, because people might actively be looking, but maybe not on a job board, but they're going to your website. So it's a bit of a hybrid there. So this is the way you fill this out, right? That's your UVP. Those are your four core principles to get candidates into your database. Last step before I talk about how to use this as your UVP to a customer to get them to want to do business with you, you have to keep building relationship with your audience, with your database of people, right? You need to be thinking about the influencers out there. Think about those influencers that you see online, the ones that are on TikTok, the ones that are also on YouTube, the ones that are on Instagram and Facebook and wherever. You follow them and you see them on different platforms, and they're engaging in slightly different ways, but they're keeping their audience engaged. Whether they're doing product reviews or product drops or all sorts of stuff, whatever it might be, they're keeping their audience engaged. They're speaking to them in a message. Sometimes they've got content, they've got emails, they do all sorts of stuff to stay in front of their audience. Why do they do that? Because the audience is key. It's no different in their industry as it is in staffing. Our talent network is our audience, and we have to stay top of mind with them. We have to stay in some level of professional relationship with the people in our database. This can be automated a lot with tools and technology out there, but there should be some physical touch as well, making sure you're staying in contact with your people in your database so they know you're real and they know that you care, right? If you put those things together, those four pillars, those four streams of talent, network, and you build a relationship with these people, you will have something that probably 90% of the staffing industry does not have right now, okay? You'll have a massively populated passive talent pool that is engaged with you, okay? This is unique to you because three of your streams are things that you're doing and they're basically unique to you. The job board is not unique to you. This whole thing is valuable to your client because they're looking for talent, quick talent, passive talent. They want that talent. The job gaps is still growing. The talent is more in demand than it ever has been, right? So if you can deliver this, it's valuable. So this is how you position this. When you are talking to a prospect and they say, hey, I'm having a hard time finding quality people, or I'm struggling with attrition, right? They start telling you all of these things. You say, okay, well, how bad is this problem? Is it worth solving? How long has it been going on? What have you tried to do about it? All your typical sales discovery questions that you've heard me talk about in other trainings or other videos. But you get to a point where you have an idea of what the problem is and what the negative business impact is. And you say, hey, to me, it seems like you're really struggling with attrition. You're getting people in, you've worked with some staffing partners, but the quality people you're getting isn't great. And you're kind of just turning this revolving door of people and it's hurting your business. And something needs to happen. And if it doesn't, it could be really bad for your customers and your business. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Right. So you validated it. You heard them. You listened to what they said. You recapped it. They know that you recapped it and understand it. Then you just say, hey, can I share with you how we would approach this? And I think just from how we would approach it, you're going to identify why we're different than everyone else that you've worked with. And they're going to say, yeah, now you've intrigued them, right? You've used curiosity to get them to lean in and want to listen to you, right? And then you say, well, what happens most often is agencies out there they over rely on job boards, which frankly is the same tools that you have access to, right? You have access to every job board, just like every staffing agency. It's kind of the same pond, right? And it's the most active talent. And in fact, the most recent industry data suggests that 80% of job orders filled by staffing agencies were sourced from a job board within the last 30 days. Think about that. 8 out of 10 orders that clients are putting on assignment at their at their clients, right? 8 out of 10 came from a job board within the last 30 days. That's something that you could have done yourself. And not to say that job boards aren't, useful and helpful, but they are filled with the most active talent, and you kind of explain what I explained, the big con in the beginning, and you make your client realize, oh, yeah, if we're getting people exclusively from a job board, maybe that's a problem. And it could be what they're doing themselves, or if they find out the agency is sending people just from job boards, it's like, well, that's not as valuable as I was hoping for, right? Because the agency told me one thing, but they're delivering something different. And we talked about that big challenge in the commoditization and kind of the view that prospects and clients have of us right now. Then you say, while we do use all of the major job boards and we use to fill that our database up, it's not our go-to source for placements. We actually have 3 other channels that are very unique to us that focus exclusively on building a talent network of actively engaged passive talent. First and foremost, we've got this referral program, and it's best in class. There's no better referral program in the industry than what we've set up. So we actually have X number, fill in the blank for you, number of ambassadors that are out there that are recruiting on our behalf. Once we get a job, we have a very detailed profile of what we're looking for a candidate, and we will send them out to our appropriate, network of ambassadors and say, hey, do you know anybody like this? Right? And because of the relationship that we have with our people, they will happily refer us and they will connect us to people that would be a great fit for this job. Okay. And those are people that you're not going to find on a job board. And those are people that you're not going to find in any of our competitors' database because they're unique to our ambassadors, our talent pool. Right. So that's one stream. Then we do this talent mapping for all the positions that we're looking for. We're constantly mapping talent. So we actually understand where all of the talent exists. If you tell us that you like to hire from a specific company, we likely have already identified that company in our talent map. And we're constantly doing this all the time, getting this passive talent into our database. And we're tracking who's ready to leave, who's not ready to leave, who wants to actively see opportunities, who needs to wait a little bit. So we can get your jobs in front of the right candidates at the right time. And again, these are people, they are definitely not on job boards, right? They do not want to be recognized as job hunting, but they are because 63% of talent today they're gonna leave this year. They're gonna move jobs. Some of your people at your company included in that, I'm sure, unfortunately, right? And then the fourth pillar that we have is we optimize. We take the playbook right out of the e-commerce site. We optimize our website and all of our web traffic. It's super easy for people to apply with us, and we make sure that they land on our website and they don't take action. We actually will retarget them to get them to come back and apply because we recognize that a second time visitor is 3 or 4 times more likely to apply than a first time visitor. And that helps us get talent that 90% of the staffing industry is just letting go away. And this is a hybrid of passive and active talent. They're looking at our jobs. They're interested in the job market, but they're not so active on job boards. So you're not likely to get access to them unless through me. right? And that's the way that we do this. But once we get all these people in our database, we're staying engaged with them. And that's how we have such an engaged talent pool that we can actually deploy out to the roles that you have. Does that feel different than what you might be getting from your current providers? Your competitors, they're not pitching the UVP like that. And what's really cool about this, to bring everything full circle, if you're doing this on the front end, if you're really crushing these 4 areas with your talent network, right, with your talent pool, this is what you're doing. Now your sales team can actually sell a true UVP, something that is unique to your agency and valuable to the client that they will pay for, right? You're going to sound different. So you're differentiating your delivery, you're differentiating your sales process, and you're seeming like the expert in the space, okay? This is really the approach that you need to be focusing on. And once you do this, then you can build all of your marketing message around it to actually help the market understand who you are, that you are the market leader. You can put the messaging out there on all of your social media. 2 last data points that I will tell you why it's so important to focus on digital marketing and social selling this year. B2B decision makers for B2B buyers of services like staffing, 85% of them are being influenced by digital marketing. And I think it was Eric Gregg from Clearly Rated that said that 93% of buyers of staffing agencies choose someone from their day one list. And that day one list is formed early in the process from what's online. So if you get your marketing messaging upstream enough, top of funnel enough, so they're aware of you, you're positioned like the expert, you're selling your UVP, now you sound valuable and you can actually be quick in response because of the work that you're doing with your 4 pillars of recruiting. Your sales team is actually bringing this up. Now when your sales team is actually posting about it on LinkedIn and they're social selling and they're creating content around it with that same aligned messaging, they're going to get more HR eyeballs, more ops managers, more buyers eyeballs looking at their stuff. They're going to be more familiar, more receptive to reply to an email, schedule a meeting, answer a phone call, whatever it might be in your supplementary sales tactics to get that client. So that right there, if I can give you one piece of advice this year, focus on the UVP, really build out those 4 pillars of recruiting better than your competition, and then align it through the sales process and marketing process, and you can have a banner year. Hey, if you want to know more about this or you have feedback or comments, definitely drop it in the comment section below or send me an email. I would love to hear from you. If you found any value in this video whatsoever, I would love it if you would actually like it, subscribe to the channel, and keep getting updates about staffing and staffing sales, recruiting, leadership, and marketing. Thank you.